Like a knife on my thigh, under my dress, your skin tight. I thought you were
All right, boys, I got a question.
an angel.
Is Drake or Kanye dropping first?
Uh,
Are we getting Certified Lover Boy or are we getting Donda first?
at this point, I am kind of convinced that they're waiting for each other. I know that's irrational,
seems
but I'm kind of
plausible.
convinced these two dates are intertwined. I think we're gonna get Donda first because I hope Kanye knows that we're only gonna wait for so much longer. Like, no, we're gonna wait, but the excitement, like, that's only gonna last for so long if he keeps on delaying and pushing back. I feel eventually people will grow tired. So hopefully optimistic we're getting Donda first.
We kind of are. I mean, I found like YouTube videos of Donda.
Yeah. And we know the song's already kind of, we have the live stream, like.
Yeah,
so-
Donda just feels more realistic because you've actually heard the music. The only thing we
true.
know that's from Drake is Laugh Now, Cry Later.
Drake was supposed to drop 7 months ago.
Kanye was supposed to drop last year, so we ain't gonna do that.
Yeah, but like
That's really
Drake
true,
doesn't.
yeah.
Drake doesn't do this though.
I think Drake feels worse because Drake himself, or at least from his account and stuff, is tweeting like
Right.
albums coming January. Like Kanye never was saying that.
Yes,
I just let y'all guess.
You remember he had that trailer and he was like, album out next week. Remember that?
Yeah.
He did that whole thing. The thing is, when Drake does that, you actually expect him to come through,
You believe it.
and he didn't. And then he tore his Achilles. I think that actually like held a lot of stuff up. Actually,
Which is weird.
it's weird, but I get it. I do get that though. Like nobody want to be like,
Yeah, I don't want to be in
album
pain doing something.
exactly. You can't get turned
Like,
torn
if I
Achilles.
tear my Achilles, you guys won't see me for a month.
Exactly. I'd be like,
Yeah.
I can't do the podcast.
It's a wrap. It's gonna be a wrap.
So that's
Yeah, I
how
can't
feel.
talk to you guys today. I tore my Achilles.
Tore my Achilles. Well, really, you can, bro. Have you ever
All right.
had surgery on your knee or like your
No, I
ankle or
haven't.
any leg?
I'm
Any lower
slipping that in there.
What direction are we varying in here?
All right, wait. So who? Okay, like who's saying? Like, let's all say what we think is gonna come out first.
Donda.
Donda, yeah.
I'll be different. I'm gonna say Drake's gonna come out first.
Cool.
If Drake
Certified-
comes out first, if Certified Lover Boy drops first, that would be something.
CLB.
It'd be amazing.
That would, if they drop same week, who's getting better?
That's never- that's
I
not gonna
wish.
happen.
I wish.
That-
though.
they-
But okay,
first
but
of
if
all-
they hype in this hypothetical world, if they drop same week, who's getting number one?
Drake.
I know it's the unfortunate truth, right?
Yeah,
the
I'd
kids
say
don't want
Drake.
to, the old heads don't want to admit it, but
Drake's pop appeal is too much.
Yeah.
yeah.
Kanye
Yeah.
has the hype.
Kanye's
has
burned
the
some
hype.
bridges too. So
Kanye has the hype, but Drake is like,
Drake's never been controversial.
oh yeah,
Kanye
he
has.
He hit a child from the road. No, I'm kidding.
he did.
No, that's
You
not
are-
like as bad as what Kanye ever said.
That's true.
Yeah,
True.
no,
True.
that's real.
It was only a picture of Drake in blackface or whatever it was. Remember that? That
He's
happened.
black, so
It was still bad.
That was still pretty bad.
That was
I
fair,
remember
fair,
that.
fair,
but like, we
fair.
kind of let it slide because but
He didn't have to make no comment or nothing. He never said, guys, that was
yeah. And then Pusha T used it as the cover to that song. So
that was a time. The Pusha T Drake beef.
what a time.
You guys, if you're listening to this, you probably heard our intro music sounded a little bit different. That's because we are kind of starting a new series. I'm kind of excited about this because we've been talking behind the scenes about doing more like interviews, and we've been trying to figure out who would be the best to talk to. And we sort of landed on the idea of talking to people trying to make it in the industry we talk about every week. Rising musicians, people working, putting in the effort, and sort of learn more about the journey of a new artist from the perspective of new artists. So that's what we're gonna be doing over the next couple of weeks. Guys, are you hype?
Very hype. That's exciting. That's kind of like one of the goals we have for this podcast, talking to new artists, up and coming artists. So it's really exciting.
Yeah. So the musician you heard when you first listened to this episode is Gaby Paul. We'll be talking to her in just a couple of minutes. Actually, no, we'll be talking to her now. I didn't tell this well, but yeah. So stay tuned for this interview. We're really excited about it, and yeah, check it out. So we are back now with our special guest. It is me, Nnamdi.
Noah.
and Avery.
And we are joined by a special guest, Gaby Paul. a talented singer-songwriter from Phoenix, Arizona, and we connected and we decided that it would be a great idea for her to come on and discuss her music, her new single, Untruly, and other music she has coming and plans she has for the future. So, Gabby, thanks for coming on.
Yay, thank you for having me.
Awesome.
So I guess just to start, how are you doing today? I guess it's sort of a weird time for everyone, but I guess I guess the year we've kind of come off of. But how are you? How are your spirits? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, honestly. Like, I can't complain right now. I'm very inspired. I'm in a good headspace. I'm doing a lot better than I have like in the years before. I feel like I'm just in a really good headspace right now, which is great.
I'm immediately noting that you said you're inspired, which always that kind of piqued my ears, saying that you create things for a living. So what does that look like, you being inspired?
Usually I am inspired at just random times, but I feel like right now I'm just very inspired sonically for just writing music. And a lot of times when I'm inspired, I'll dream a lot. So I've been having a lot of like interesting dreams where I'll dream like a song melody and then I'll just start writing it. It just kind of comes to me in dreams. So I feel like that's kind of a good sign that I'm inspired if it's coming to me while I'm sleeping in dreams. So that's what's kind of been cool.
No,
I think.
That's super cool. And just for our viewers who may not know, tell us a little bit about just sort of you as a musician and sort of how long you've been doing this.
So I've been writing music since I was a teenager, since I was like 16. And I've been vocally trained as a singer since I was 14. I started singing like opera and classical music, because, adults around me wanted me to do that. And my real love was like R&B, soul, like just like old like Etta James, Nina Simone, like just old like soul music. Like it just really vibed with me at that time. And so I started branching out and doing that when I was around like 16, 17, started writing my own music. I started like playing around on the piano. And then I also sang at weddings when I was graduating high school too. So I did some work with that, doing some gigs. And I moved to Phoenix, Arizona after living in Minnesota. And I feel like the LA scene was never really it for me. So I kind of just stay in Phoenix where I'm inspired. And I feel like it's really inspired my music too, because I have like a different kind of aesthetic. I feel like I like editing videos to my music. And I think where I'm at, the location with the desert, it just kind of fits my style right now. So that's kind of a little background about me.
And when did you like decide to like take the leap to like take this professionally?
Man, I've always wanted to take it professionally. I just fell in love with it when I was a kid, just singing. And I feel like ever since I started writing music as a teenager, it just felt natural. Like it never felt like work. Like I don't know. I don't like it when musicians say that like they're working or when you're writing music. I mean, to me, it's like, it's just fun. It's just like art. It's not really work to me. And I feel like that when you find a job that doesn't feel like work, that's a good job for you, in my opinion.
I totally agree. It's so interesting that you said that you were inspired by people like Etta James and that you did opera. And that was one of the notable things that, we all, took notice when we were listening to your music, like, wow, it sounds really classic. And it sounds it's not, she's inspired by older artists, from the mid 20th century. What necessarily got you into that? Because that's not something that necessarily, younger people are like, oh, I'm gonna go listen to Etta James. How did you get into that music and why did it have such a big inspiration on you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's unfortunate when the younger generations don't really respect or appreciate the musicians that came before, because it's like you have to appreciate where it came from. And the music you're listening to now, it wouldn't be that kind of music if you didn't have classics like Etta James or Nina Simone. So I really started appreciating that old soul kind of music when I was just a little kid. I remember, man, my parents would play that music for me. And if I was ever like in a weird mood, or if I was like a baby crying, I would stop crying immediately. Like, it's just like, it's always been comforting to me. Like, and I'm thankful that my family members really had good taste in music, because I've noticed with a lot of people, they like what their parents liked. They liked what they were brought up around. And I'm thankful that my parents had good taste in music.
Just a follow up to that, was there ever like a, because sometimes we all listen to music that our parents listen to. That's kind of how it is when we're growing up. Was there ever like a hesitancy to be like, oh, I kind of want to go into something else or try something different than what my parents have been listening to, or is it the opposite? Is like, this is exactly what I want to do, and as a result you're doing it. Like, what was your kind of thought process in terms of what you wanted your sound to be?
When I was a teenager, I was very like moody and angsty. I was like, I'm doing whatever I want when I want to do it. Like, I was very much of just an independent, free spirit. So everything that I've kind of been into has been authentic. It's not just like influence. So, that's kind of my personality in a way. Like, I'm going to do what I want to do. I like what I like. So whenever I was into a genre that maybe my parents didn't like or my family didn't like, it didn't really bother me at all. Like, I think a lot of it is environment, but I think also like if you are a strong personality, you know who you are, like you're going to be gravitated towards art that resonates with you. So yeah.
Yeah, and little spoiler, we like scoured your SoundCloud in preparation for this interview. So we listened to some of your older tracks, and some of your early stuff are covers. And it's like, to your point, the older acts, there's like a Feeling Good cover, a Bang, Can't Help Falling in Love. Like, and one thing that immediately stands out is you sort of have this like raspy, like soulful, like deeper voice. And you mentioned you're classically trained, at least vocally, you did vocal training. What was the journey in sort of finding that sound and sort of honing your voice to sort of meet, the needs of that, genre, the real soulful, sort of smoky type of vocal?
I love that question. When I was getting trained as a teenager in classical music, it was all like about perfection. It's like opera is all about perfection, having a clear tone and having it just be super pure, like no rasp, nothing like that. So once I started kind of getting into my own style, I was watching other singers and I was kind of talking to other people who sang R&B, and they're like, you got to stop with this perfection kind of stuff. Like, you have to literally just like, don't even think about it. Just like become huskier in your voice. Like, don't try to be perfect all the time. Don't overthink it. And they're like, you should become huskier and have more gravelly tones in your voice. And I was like, oh, I love it when people have rasps. So I was like, really I just stopped trying to be perfect. Like, I just sang from like my heart and my soul. I didn't really even think about trying to be right all the time. So I love doing that, though. I love raspy tones, and like, I just think it tells more of a story too.
Yeah, absolutely. And even as far as like that storytelling goes, you're a songwriter.
Yeah.
You write all of your music. Does writing in a genre or within a genre like R&B soul make it easier, since I feel like it naturally is sort of like an expressive, very like emotionally involved genre as is. A lot of, when you think of rhythm and blues and soul, it's like it's filled with emotion. Did that gravitate you in any way to the genre as far as a writer?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's just so comforting. Like, blues and R&B, just it's real, it's authentic, and they're not like using a filter, or like they're not being fake at all. They're actually telling a story, and they could be telling their story or someone else's. But the reason why I found that comforting is because I kind of had like a rough childhood, a rough kind of upbringing, and I really resonated with the lyrics. And it's just like, you can be honest and just be blunt, and I feel like growing up, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes families, they're kind of like, don't show your emotions, kind of act like everything's okay. And so that's kind of how my family was like. And so listening to music and writing music, it was a way for me to get out my real emotions and talk about my past in a way that was comforting to me.
Is there a song that you've written that feels like the nexus of that, or feels like a perfect example of that sort of expressiveness, and like a good example of you sort of putting it out there? I know you've written some music. Is there one that sticks out?
Man, I would think there's a song that sticks out called American Dream that I wrote. And then there's one called Let Live, where I was kind of just talking about my upbringing. And I don't know, I like being really honest, but I like doing it in a way where it's still a little mysterious. I don't like giving too much away. I like the listener to kind of listen to the lyrics and see what resonates with them. And I want them to think of their own story, get their own perception from it. Because I feel like some writers, they'll be a little too blunt and honest, where there's no secrecy and you're not really left to wonder much. And I like kind of daydreaming and being left to wonder like what exactly they're talking about. So like I like being blunt but not too blunt, if that makes sense.
I'm glad you brought up that song because that's one of the songs that really stuck out to me in terms of the lyrics. Because often, sometimes people listen to R&B and they kind of don't give credit to, the writing skills of the artist. They're kind of like, they just sound so good. Like the way it sounds is great, but they don't give credit to the lyrics. What's kind of like your songwriting process? Because I think that's a tough thing that a lot of people, because in R&B, some people think they're not even writing the song. It's not coming from them. It's kind of, it's kind of like rare, I guess. I don't want to say rare, but you don't know if the music is actually from their thoughts, their words. So what's your songwriting process in terms of, oh, I got an idea, I should make a song about this? What's your process with doing that? Are you do you write stuff down, or is it just comes, like, what's your process with that?
I, sometimes I'll just read through old text messages that I have with people, and you can get a lot of baggage from that. I mean, so I'll literally like take screenshots of old text messages and I'll try to like write them out in a journal and see like what tells a story, what rhymes. So that's one way I do it. I literally read off of my text messages and try to sing them sometimes. And then another thing is going through like my journal, my diary, and taking things from there. Another thing about lyrics is sometimes it doesn't always fit the melody. So I'll just try to find like what's most important in like what people have said to me in text messages or in my diary and stuff. When it comes to melodies, it usually just comes to me in a dream. So that's kind of easy for me, I guess.
Is it easy for you to like remember your dreams? Because after I wake up, I have no idea what just happened.
Yeah, so basically I forget my dreams a lot. So if I get like a melody idea, I'll wake up and I know I have to like record it into my phone or else I'm gonna forget it. So I'll wake up and I'll like get my voice memos and I'll hum the melody that I heard in my dream so I don't forget it.
So like the big like bulk of the series you're doing is about like the journey, sort of how far you've come and how far you want to go as a musician. I think songwriting sort of a huge part of that. And since we're talking about it now, I sort of want you to think of like the first song you created or wrote, and think about like the most recent one you did, and talk about sort of, what the two songs were, but also like the changes you've noticed, how you've grown, what's been easier or harder, and sort of how you feel you've changed since that like first song.
Yeah, so when I look back at old music that I've written, I cringe. I'm like, oh God, like that's so embarrassing. Like, why did I think that sounded good? Or like the lyrics seem cheesy because I feel like I've evolved a lot. So I would say when I first started writing music, I was like worried too much about rhyming, and I was about like the structure of it and like being musically correct in that way. And I feel like there's just no rules when it comes to creativity like that. Like I feel like you're really just limiting yourself. At least I feel like just, let it all out and then you can work on the structure later on if it's really needed. so yeah, I was just worried about being perfect all the time when I first started writing music. And I thought that was really bad for my mental health and just me as an artist in general, like always being right all the time, doing things right. And it's music, there's no rules. So now I look at my lyrics and it's just me, going through like a scenario in my head with an ex-boyfriend or family member or friend, and I'm just being as honest as I can, and then not trying to I'm not trying to like have any expectations about it. I'm just trying to write what sounds good to me and not trying to be perfect. Like I had to get rid of that mindset a while ago, and I'm glad I did.
We've been talking a lot about like, the songwriting process. And I think a lot of people we know, they're into music, they write stuff, they'll sing, they record things on their phone, voice memos and whatnot. I think a lot of the things that people struggle with is like, okay, how do I go about recording music, getting it down, having production? Who do I have to produce? How do I record? How do I make it sound quality? When you can kind of talk, if you could kind of talk about like when you first started and like now, what's that process like in terms of, do you go to a studio? Is it just like, you're recording in your room? What do you use? Like, what's that process? 'Cause I think that's one of the hardest and most intimidating parts about getting into music is like, I think I can sing and I think I could write. How am I recording and how does it sound good?
Yeah, well, in that regard, I've been really grateful for what I have because I've had the same producer for 7 years. He is amazing. His name is Chris Moley, and he has an at-home studio that I've been recording with. It's like in his it's in his basement, and he has the greatest gear. I mean, he is just, yeah, what he does, it's beautiful, and it's like he's not like super expensive. And that's something that, I feel like it stops artists from recording because of the pricing in a studio like that. And then also recording in your room, you have to really practice the sound quality in your room, and you have to get this equipment and stuff. And I think that looks intimidating to artists. I wish more people had some of the opportunities I have had with my producer. I mean, I'm so grateful that I met him, and that was just by chance. I met him through mutual friends. So like my recording process, it's just me going over to his studio, and I'll be like, hey, these are my melodies that I have. These are my chord progressions that I put together, my lyrics. And then he'll just let me record. And he's so attentive. Like he literally lets me take control over it. And he's just a very intelligent man. And most producers, like I feel like a lot of times they'll just put their own little spin to music and they won't really listen to the artist a lot, I've noticed. But for me, I've just had a great producer for 7 years. So I'm really thankful for that.
Speaking of like producers, I know you have one you primarily work with, but I see the song Settle Down Happily with Jeremy Ford, which just sounds like another producer. Cause obviously I was like, oh, this is a great song. But then he also has an instrumental of it. So it sounds like it's something he had and you kind of came on later. How did that song kind of come to be? Because it sounds like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds like a new producer you kind of did a one-off with. So
Yeah, it was a new producer that I worked with. He is located in New York. So he found my SoundCloud and he was like, wow, I love your voice. Like, let's collaborate. And I checked out his stuff and it was like trip hop and it was kind of psychedelic sounding. And I was like, ooh, I love this. So he sent me some melodies and I sang over that. But he's really good. He's really experienced too, in the New York music scene, which is dope. So
power of the internet.
yeah. And then another person that I worked with was Bradley Marcus, who is a producer in LA. So he was amazing too.
How big of a deal is collaboration when you're like a newer artist? And does like how often is it someone hitting you up on SoundCloud or relying on the friend who happens to be a producer? Like how big is sort of just finding other people with similar interests at this stage of like your career?
Honestly, yeah, that was something that I was battling with for a few years. There was a time where I wanted to make a specific sound and I couldn't do that on my own. And I had to find someone to collaborate with who had the same vision, who wanted the same things. It was hard. It took a while. I found Bradley Marcus. He actually contacted me on Instagram and was like, hey, I love your voice. If you like my music, I'd love to collaborate. And he had like a similar kind of vibe that I liked melodically for my songs. And I just got lucky in that way, in him contacting me. But usually when people contact me on Instagram or SoundCloud, I always give them a chance. I always listen to their music and see if it's similar and kind of talk to them and see if they want to write a song that's similar to my sound. But yeah, I get a lot of DMs and messages from producers sending me beats and stuff, which I love. Like I love listening to beats and considering them as like a songwriter that I could work with. But it can get overwhelming at times, you know, listening to a ton of people's work and them wanting to always work with you.
And I'm just curious, how would you define your sound or like your genre? I know I'm all for like genre shouldn't exist and we should just, you know, create as we create. But like if you sort of had to, like, how would you sort of characterize your music?
I would say if you look at like my past work, it's kind of all over the place because there was a time where I was kind of deciding what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to put myself in a box for a while, kind of like what you said, like, you know, I feel like there should be no such thing as a genre, and a lot of people agree with that. But if I had to put a word to it right now, I'm really trying to focus on kind of bedroom R&B, kind of like moody bedroom R&B, kind of lo-fi sounding beats, and that's kind of what's resonating with me right now is bedroom R&B, like sultry, you know, bluesy vocals and just raw, authentic lyrics that, you know, you listen to at 3 a.m.
And that's the vibe I definitely get when I listen to some of your music. Your latest single is Untruly, which I feel is like that, is to sort of up that alley. How did that like come together and how did that happen?
Yeah, Untruly, I started writing that song about a specific guy that I was seeing for a few months, and it just kind of came to me. I had to like let it out, and he was someone that I was seeing and I could tell that I wasn't his type and he wasn't my type either. So and we never were official or anything. So I wrote a song Untruly because it's like your connection is so raw and authentic and honest, but yet the relationship aspect, putting a label on it, you know, it doesn't make sense. And it's like that person isn't really yours, even though they feel like they're yours. So Untruly, it's like that the connection is true, but it's like they're not actually yours. So it's kind of untrue in a way. So that's kind of how I thought of that, just the message in the song. And I remember I wrote that within like 2 months. I kept going back to it. You know, some songs take me like 10 minutes and other songs take me like a few months because I'm like, no, should I say that? You know, should I really talk like that in the song? And then I'll like change it. I'll get like all like self-conscious, but I kept going back to it and I like kept trying to make it more slower, like a song that you would listen to at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., because that's when I was thinking about them the most, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So I'm so glad that you got that same vibe from that song because that's exactly what I was going for.
And so I want to actually have 3 tracks on Spotify now, at least that I saw. What are sort of your plans for like next? You hope to record more songs? Is there anything on the way? Like what are sort of the next big goals you want to achieve?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of songs on Spotify, but I do like the platform a lot. So my plans, basically, I just want to knock out more bedroom R&B tunes. I almost want to make like a concept album where there's about like 12 to 14 songs where it's all like bedroom R&B. It's like an album that you could put on a record player. It's an album that you could listen to on Spotify, make a playlist out of it. And it's basically just for like nighttime drives or like nighttime when you're awake and you can't sleep, or when you're like with someone that you really like at night and you just listen to that. And that's what I want to go for. Kind of like the late night rainy vibes, late night drives. That's just the sound that I've fallen in love with recently.
Yeah, you mentioned, because obviously now you have singles, but you mentioned, you want to have a project. Is that something you're kind of like, okay, I need to make something now, or is that something you're kind of like, kind of coming naturally, like, well, I feel like these songs kind of connect and I can create a project out of this, not necessarily an album, but like an EP or something. Is that something that you're planning to do? Is that something you're kind of like, when the moment's right, it'll come while I'm writing or something like that?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and there's been times where I've wanted to develop a sound more and I wanted to make a whole project out of it, but it just wasn't right at the time. Like, I go through phases in life. I feel like we all kind of do. And there's been times where there's like a certain kind of music that I want to keep developing on, but it just the phase went by so fast that it's like, no, I want to like actually like sit on a project and make sure that it's something that's worthwhile, like something that is really worth saying. I don't want to just like keep popping out music that is just low in quality and it's not really what I'm feeling at the time, just to like release music. I feel like, I love fans in general and like fans of stars, but they're always like, we want more music, and they just want them to pop out music. They don't even care about, the quality. Sometimes it seems like, I know they're impatient, they love their artists, but I don't want to just pop out songs just to pop out music for people to listen to on Spotify more often. I want to actually have something to say, and I want it to be worthwhile, and I want it to sound good. The quality is important. So I'm glad that I didn't like rush into things and just pop things out just for the sake of making like TikTok dances and doing all of that. And so, yeah, that's a good question.
I know you said you want to like dig more into the bedroom R&B sound, but are there other sounds that like you can see yourself getting into, or that you like want to get into in the future?
Yeah, I really love trip hop and psychedelic hip hop and like in dream pop, indie. Some of the artists that I've been listening to now is Sabrina Claudio, Lana Del Rey, Sinead Harnett, and Lolo Zouai. I like my taste in music, it goes all over the place, but I want it to make sense to my voice and my brand. So I definitely want to stay in the R&B realm because that's my main passion. But maybe add some like psychedelic trip hop vibes to it, or maybe some like more retro blues acoustic guitar kind of sounds to it, but still stay in like the same kind of tree, just branch out a little bit into kind of sister genres.
Do you play any instruments? Just wondering. You
Yeah.
mentioned, okay, gotcha.
I play piano, and then I taught myself guitar, but that's something that I didn't really keep up with, but I do know some guitar, but I mainly I love piano.
Gotcha.
I sort of have a question for you, and it's because I know you sort of mentioned that R&B is sort of the genre, and you kind of want to stick with that, and that's what feels very natural. I'm sort of curious as you work to sort of grow within R&B and sort of like make more music and get embraced. Has there ever been any concerns considering R&B sort of like a lot of people view it as like a genre that you have to it's a black genre, and like that sort of the sound of an artist that that's sort of what there's an idea of what an R&B artist look like, sort of thing. Have you ever had any concerns about like being perceived or feeling like you have to do something extra to sort of like be embraced, or just any concerns releasing music in R&B and people maybe perceiving you in some whatever light?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's something that I've thought about. And some people, yeah, have brought it to my attention, and I definitely don't want to like steal from the genre at all, or I'm just very inspired by the sound of R&B. I've loved it my whole life, and I do kind of want to make some of it my own. I don't want to like take from other artists or anything like that. I don't think it's really necessary for me to kind of like change up like my appearance or anything. I just am really inspired by the music, and I respect all the artists that came before me. So yeah, I think just like giving love and respect to the music and doing it in a way that is respectful and being really appreciative towards all the artists that came before me. But yeah, that's definitely something that I've thought about, but I try to just stay true to who I am.
Yeah, and I feel like one word you say often is like authentic, and I get that vibe from like your music. I definitely, it feels very natural, and it feels like your voice is very naturally suited for the genre. I mean, you're classically trained. You were doing covers years ago, so it definitely does come off as authentic. I'll absolutely say that.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the last question I really have for you, and I'm just sort of curious, this sort of happened because we got to talk to you and on, we connected through Instagram. It felt like very new artist sort of grind, like that's how you kind of, you make work, you promote your stuff, you try to get as many listens. So what does that new artist grind look like to you? Just for the people listening who are like, I want to get in my bag and like start singing and doing it. Tell them what that grind looks like.
Yeah, I feel like all I do is grind. I mean, that's so funny that you were able to see that from my message, how I was just like, going through like people who love music. And I was like, ooh, like this seems like a cool podcast. Like I love what they talk about, their topics. So that's why I contacted you guys. But my grind is mainly, there's so much. I mean, networking, like I'm always sharing my music to people who love that genre and like getting it on playlists, because Spotify playlists are like the number one thing right now. Like that's like your number one marketing is Spotify playlists, social media, and like TikTok, which I don't know what you guys think of TikTok. Like, what do you guys think of it?
The amount of time you talked about TikTok on this
podcast. TikTok is kind of like, we kind of talked about this last year, kind of like how TikTok kind of took over 2020 and like it kind of runs music in a weird way.
Yeah.
And like, if you're not on TikTok, you're kind of missing out on like a whole demographic of people that are not listening to your music. So
do you guys feel like it's taking away from the art of music in some way because people are trying to make trends out of it and dance routines? Do you think it's kind of comes off just disingenuous at times, like people just want to get their bag?
I don't know. Like,
go ahead.
No, I think that's a really cool question. Like, I don't think anyone that I've seen like intentionally try and make TikTok music has been successful at it. I think a lot of like the really popular stuff on TikTok has been just like either a popular artist who came out with a catchy song, or just like some song that like the 13-year-olds found and they like and made a dance to. I
agree. I feel like the songs that people are trying to make that cater to TikTok are the good ones. And it's honestly nothing new because people have always tried to make dances. But it was, MySpace way back then. That's a throwback. But like, Thriller. People make it exactly, or Thriller or something like that. Those are, people have always tried to make dances and catchy things, and try to bring it to social media to, gain a bigger following. So.
And I think for me, I think authenticity matters and is very important. And I think to Avery's point, you can tell when someone's sort of being inauthentic and just trying to make a cookie cutter TikTok hit. And I think when that happens, people tend to reject the music, So I think to your point, it does sort of take the genuity, like, the sincerity and feeling out of music when you're just doing it so someone makes a dance to it,
Yeah, I love how people can really just like read the energy from people when they're doing that. Like, the truth always comes to light, I feel like, in one way or another. But I think it's so interesting how artists will literally try to create a melody that people find catchy and to dance to. And that's like the only reason why they're doing it, is just so like 13-year-olds can dance to it. But still they don't become like successful with it. Like, it's wild. Like, usually things like that, it happens on accident if you have like a viral song, which is just crazy to me. So it's like, I guess you just never know when something will go viral. And that's kind of the crazy part about it. It's like a weird energy to it.
It's crazy because I always hear artists say like, oh, that's a song we didn't think was going to pop and it did. It's like, they're like, oh, we didn't know that was going to be the hit. Sometimes you hear artists like, that's going to be the hit, but sometimes it kind of comes naturally. It's like, that's the one fans wanted and it's the biggest one. So that is
and to add to that, like, honestly, there have been songs where I was sick and I was singing and I didn't think my vocals sounded good. And then I didn't tell people, and I wanted them to choose from like these vocals and the vocals that I wasn't really trying so hard on. And they're like, oh my God, I love those vocals when you were sick. It sounds so good. And then they like love the songs that I like didn't spend much time writing sometimes. And I'm just like, what? That's wild.
Well, I think as we start to wrap up, I want to ask you to sort of, for the people who have listened to this and they're like, I want to check out Gaby Paul, what would you say is the song you want them to check out to get a good idea of who you are as sort of a musician?
Definitely check out my newest single, Untruly. I feel like that is definitely just me right now. And it's definitely the genre of music that I want to keep creating in.
Absolutely. We will add it to our playlist this week so you can hear it there. That's one place you can definitely hear it. And we'll have all your links. We'll promote with you this week because we really do appreciate you coming on and sort of giving us your insight and sharing your story and talking to us.
Yay. Thank you for having me. I loved it. I was a little nervous though, but thank you.
Good. I'm glad if you were able to have a fun conversation and no nerves. This is what we like to do. We just talk a lot.
We just talk music. Just talking music. Just talking music.
Love that. Thank you again.
Thank you. Our thanks to Gaby Paul for joining us. That was a great interview. I think, we enjoyed that conversation, appreciated her insight, and enjoy her music, right?
Yep. I think it was a great interview. We really appreciate her coming on our podcast and talking about her music and what inspires her.
You're going to catch some of her songs on our playlist this week. So be on the lookout for that to get some more Gaby Paul songs in your playlist, your listening rotation. And yeah, our thanks again to her for joining us. So now I guess we'll get back to the other part of the shows that we kind of skipped, starting with headlines. And this week is kind of a big one. So Britney Spears' dad, is not resigning immediately, but has said that he is going to step down from the conservatorship role in like a timely manner once he feels like certain things are handled, that he'll be willing to let go. He submitted a court filing saying that that's where his head's at. There's no need to do this long court battle. So she's not out of she's not out of a conservatorship. That's not what she's been asking for. Funny enough, she's just been asking for her dad to be removed as one of the primary people. But yeah, it looks like that may finally be happening.
Yeah, this whole Britney Spears thing is really unfortunate. The way she's been taken advantage of since she's gotten to this business, into the spotlight. I really hope the person who ends up taking over for the conservatorship is somebody that she trusts, somebody that she believes in and stuff like that, because obviously this is her father and she didn't want that. You would usually think your dad or your parents would take care of you, and that's not the case with this. So it's really unfortunate that this happened. So but it's a good thing that it happened. So
it's a step in the right direction.
I agree.
Good win for the Free Britney movement. So
exactly.
Yeah. Y'all know this isn't over, right?
It's not over.
You see that statement from, where is it in here? It says that her attorney considers it's a major victory, and that he plans to depose him under oath. Britney has said she wants to sue her family. There's been rumors about certain hundreds of thousands of dollars that are here and there that we're not going to get into because I don't know if those have been verified. But I think this is still, even with this new development, the start of what will be a longer ordeal. That hopefully for this family doesn't have to sort of unfold in public.
It's like a win the battle, you still have the war situation.
Yeah. I agree.
So
one battle in the war.
Speaking of winning battles and wars, but this wasn't a battle of war. Let's not create beef where there's no beef. But it felt like it, and we had an episode kind of alluding to a generational evolutionary battle sort of thing within hip hop.
A shift in the culture.
A change in momentum.
It's a big deal for sure.
Big deal.
And I guess a good symbol of this shift, Lil Nas X just topped DaBaby as Spotify's most streamed male rapper. So whenever I see these headlines, I wonder if where does Spotify post these figures? I can't really find them. I know they update it once a month, but I don't know if it's a weekly thing or if this happened. I remember the day this sort of went viral, if this happened that day or whatever. But Lil Nas X does have more monthly listeners than DaBaby. He and Drake. The claim was more than any other rapper, so I couldn't figure out a chart. So I just started checking other
male rapper.
Male rapper, yeah, but he has 52 million, and I think that's that does it for him. I don't know if there's any other male rapper that's there.
Yeah.
The only other female rapper that I think could be there is maybe Doja right now, and I don't know what she's at. But like,
Yeah, maybe Doja, maybe Megan.
Doja, it says
Maybe.
58.9 million.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
So Doja's probably has it.
Good for Doja. Good for Doja. Yeah, man, this is great. I mean, Lil Nas X. And to say DaBaby still has 51 million monthly listeners, while Lil Nas X is 52. So it's not like DaBaby, even though everybody it's all about DaBaby getting dropped, but a lot of people are still listening to his music. But it's great that Lil Nas X is getting more popular. Like everybody thought he was a one-hit wonder, including me. Including me.
I'm not gonna hold him.
But he's shown, some longevity. Not like, but it's been like a couple of years and he's still doing his thing, and I'm really happy for him.
Yeah.
And he makes good music.
And
so.
Industry Baby is really good.
It's a
I
really
enjoy
good
being
song.
proven wrong with Lil Nas X.
I agree.
But-
I'm
and this
still
was-
listening to that song. It's really good.
We didn't have this as a headline, but DaBaby deleting his Instagram apology after that was
Really?
Why,
I didn't know-
why let them post it on your accounts? You're gonna tell him to take it down 3 days later. I just don't.
I didn't know that. I didn't know he deleted
Yeah,
it.
he deleted
Yeah, he deleted that apology is no longer on his Instagram,
Why?
which I can't.
I don't
understand why.
The fact
do
that DaBaby has more monthly listeners than like Drake is kind of crazy.
It's only because you have to remember Drake hasn't put out new music in like.
That's
a
true.
minute.
And DaBaby's on like every song ever.
Yeah, DaBaby
You
is
know?
kind of like doing the Drake, just more. Like, how Drake used to be on every song? DaBaby's like
Yeah,
on
that's
everything,
true.
literally, Like every big release, it's DaBaby. So
Yeah, you're right.
Except Donda, it's a Kanye. Kanye
You're right,
handled that.
you're right.
He was removed from Donda.
exactly. So
Is that did we just get 3 headlines into
We
one?
just slipped.
We make it
DaBaby's
work.
been in the news a lot. It's been hard not.
Hey,
to talk about him.
we're journalists, okay? Like,
We're journalists.
like, come on now. Like,
We do this.
Let's
we do
respect on our
this.
name.
This is what we do.
Speaking of Kanye,
Speaking of
I
YEEZY,
thought you were about to be like, speaking of journalists, and I was like, wait.
speaking of YEEZY, demand for YEEZY surges 347%. I still get so confused when it's over 100. I mean, like over 100%. I'm like, can you
that
go
just
over?
means it's like
100%?
over tripled.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Following Kanye's delay of Donda. So, and the question under the headline is, could Ye be intentionally creating more hype? Creating
Yes,
hype.
probably.
And that's, yes. 'cause-
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
I mean, Kanye, like I said, I think Drake is the more popular artist in terms of like sales, but I don't think any artist can create more hype than Kanye, period.
He just
Kanye-
knows how to do it really well.
Yeah.
He's so good at the hype, and Travis Scott is like the next guy up to me in like in terms of hype, like in terms of just hype around stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Kanye's like an industry. Like he's
He's his own industry.
a whole business.
I mean, the dude is literally taking over Gap. Remember,
Yeah.
like he has Gap. He's gonna make Gap hot again if Gap was ever hot. But it's pretty insane. So I'm just waiting for Donda to drop. I mean, I'm just really interested in what he has to say on this album. I'm just really interested. So I just want the drop. I'm not one of the people to fall into the hype because Kanye stuff is expensive.
I would like to see the sourcing on this. According to the Soul Supplier. Okay, the Soul Supplier. Because now I'm like 347% for delayed up. Like people was like, dang, he didn't put that album out. Let me go buy this jacket though.
And they're a retailer, so maybe
Yeah.
Yeah, true. So maybe they're
And it's Kanye, so like people were buying bags of air from Kanye. So
You're right.
so
Yeah.
I'm not one to question how much his sales
Like,
are going up. So
the Kanye industrial complex.
wow.
Kanye's done this before. Every time I start to get angry, I just have to remind myself that I should be mad at myself for allowing myself to get played again.
Don't
Like,
you
he
have
hasn't done
you
this.
have Yeezys, don't you?
Nnamdi has Yeezys.
And I'll continue to
I like
enjoy
Yeezys. They're
those
cool
Yeezys.
shoes. I enjoy them. I
I mean, all the people that are mad at Kanye are all gonna listen to the album. So
yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So I guess
So-
mission accomplished if you're Kanye
absolutely,
West.
absolutely.
True.
Okay, new releases. We had a lot of a lot of variety this week. We have a Benny the Butcher album. What number is that this year?
Well, it's actually an old album. It's actually like songs he put on his Instagram. He was like, "This song's from like 3 years ago, and I'm put it out." It's actually kind of cool.
Ah.
It's not honestly. It's not all that honestly, but it's cool. It's Benny. So
We
Benny's
had some,
actually he's getting really popping lately. He was at the NBA draft, so I feel the rise coming. So
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's about time. I feel like this week a lot of the conversation was some singles. We had Rumors, the Lizzo and Cardi B collab. We had Essence, which has been out from WizKid. Shout out Nigeria. You already know. Hold it down.
I love that song so
featuring
much.
Justin Bieber, which was I'm not trying to be a hater. Okay, I get why he did it.
yeah,
I just think the song was so good already.
it was
Like,
good already. It was just like
I didn't. The Gain, I get it, but like,
It's just something to push the deluxe album, you know, for that deluxe version of the album. So I love that song so much. Denzel Curry had a great song, The Game.
That song is really good.
Yeah, The Game. Denzel Curry won another album. He's been quiet lately, you know what I'm saying? He feels like he's been
I think
quiet.
he's hopped on a lot of like random features. But
Yeah. But the single that I feel like, now I'm speaking of your singles like taking over, I feel like the one that everybody was talking about was Rumors for different reasons by Lizzo and Cardi B.
what did you guys think of Lizzo's first new song in 2 years? We all like Lizzo here.
I like Lizzo.
I think
I
we all
like
like
her.
Lizzo.
I like her album a lot.
She's
I
very
remember
talented.
Really
So
enjoying
talented.
that album when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Now this song, however,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna quote one of my friends. I was talking to him about it, and he said it's giving Old Navy. That was his quote.
Somebody on Twitter said it's gonna be in a diaper commercial, straight up.
It's
Like,
gonna be in a Target ad in like 3 weeks.
It did feel very, very commercial.
you know what's
And
so interesting about that too? All those brands we're talking about, we think about, you know, moms going there. Moms love Lizzo.
That's true.
Moms
Yeah,
literally
but-
love Lizzo a lot.
then why the Cardi B collab? The Cardi B collab feels they're trying to appeal to the younger
crowd.
folks
The youth.
and the younger crowd. The song, I think Lizzo is so talented.
She's
I just
very
want to make sure that's like emphasized.
I do.
It just feels like, you know, she turned right. She made a left. There was a turn at some point in this creative process, and that turn, I'm not sure if it was if it was on track. I think there's a better way to utilize Lizzo's amazing singing and production skills.
Yeah.
Well, let me say
in that
this:
song.
like Lizzo, you know, she's not afraid to color outside the lines. That's an example based off her last album. But this is not my cup of tea for me.
Agreed.
But I do think people will like this track. I think people will gravitate to this
Oh
track.
yeah,
And I
it's
think
gonna
this
be on
track
the
will do
radio.
well.
Yeah,
it's gonna be
I
on the
don't know.
radio.
Yeah, and
I think it is.
That's the thing about the song. I think for me, I think it feels like she was told you need to make a radio hit, and she tried really hard to do that, and this is what we got. But I think the problem is you can tell that it's sort of like this attempt to make a hit, and the best hits, you don't know that. Does that make sense?
That
It's
makes
weird
sense.
though, because like Lizzo does this. Like
Yeah, that's-
her,
yeah.
she every song on that last album was a hit. All like
She was releasing singles throughout for like 2 years.
yeah,
and,
just
like,
so catchy,
that's what
very
we-
good.
yeah.
I think
Now,
it'll
Sorry, go
stick
ahead.
for some people. I think it'll stick, just not for me, but I
Yeah.
think it'll stick.
I'm not
I mean,
worried
I guess
about the
we'll be
album.
able to-
If there's like a second song that kind of sounds like this, then I'll be a little iffy.
Yeah.
Do we
Right
want
now.
to, just because we've all said we think it's a commercial thing, where do you think it'll debut if you had to just get a stab at it?
I'm feeling like
Wasn't
top
Cardi B.
15, top
I would
15,
say top 10.
14, 13. That's what I'm feeling.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say top 15 too, like a nice number, 13.
All right, I'll be a little nicer. I'm gonna say like 8.
15 to 12, Nnamdi, 15 to 11. type
Exactly,
range.
that's what I'm saying.
Not quite like a banger, but like, oh, she's doing good. That
Good
that
for
song did
her,
really good.
good
Good
for
for her.
yeah, exactly.
And maybe it'll stick. A lot of these singles, the last couple, these last few years have been like a slow burn. Like, sometimes it'll be, songs grow on people. So, any albums you guys listen to?
So
Any of these new releases?
I didn't listen to the Iggy Azalea album, End of an Era, but I did see in a tweet that I think this is her last before taking a hiatus of sorts.
She has a son.
She has a son,
With
and
Playboy
I
Cardi.
think she has other ventures she wants to get into. So, maybe give it a listen. Iggy Azalea had the charts on lock for a nice year, and we didn't forget.
We did not
forget.
forget. Yeah, back when I was a sophomore in high school.
Back when
that was-
Macklemore was the king around here.
Back when Macklemore was the king of rap. Bo Jackson by Boldy James and the Alchemist. Boldy James and the Alchemist is a 3-peat for them. 2019 they had the EP. 2020 they had Price of Tea in China, and this year they have Bo Jackson. So
How is it?
And
I haven't listened yet.
it's great, man. Earl Sweatshirt's on there. Rock Marciano, Freddie Gibbs, of course.
Of course.
And Currency. So I really enjoy
Is
it.
there any sort of theme with the Bo Jackson title?
Yeah, they have a lot of Alchemist always does this, but he has like a lot of like TV clip audio of like
cool.
Bo Jackson, you know, stuff like that. So, and the
Yeah.
album's super cool too. Like that, you know, the promo they've been doing for it is super cool. It's like, I don't know, it's like a big collage of like Bo Jackson posters and stuff like that. It's really cool. So Boldy James is just super consistent.
That's what I was gonna say. They've been very consistent, especially Alchemist. He hasn't really like missed with all the projects he's been involved with.
I mean, the Alchemist is just like one of the best. I mean, he could work with Eminem and he could work with Boldy James. It's like,
Might be the
really-
best producer out right now, like consistently.
I
So
agree.
good.
He's really
I
good.
don't know. Nas and Hit Boy, they did their thing.
They did.
They did. Hit Boy's killing it too. I also surprisingly, I actually like this Down South Wale track. I actually like it. I enjoy it.
I'm gonna check it out. I have not listened yet, but I mess with Wale. Omo Naija.
Almost
I'm
the
gonna
name
check
of
it
our
out.
podcast.
Almost. I was about to say that.
Wow.
I was actually about to say that.
Thank
So
God we
if
thought it.
anybody's thinking about starting a podcast, you can take Down South. Actually, no.
I'm sorry, that's
actually
still
no.
trademark.
You
That's
actually
still
no. You're
trademark.
right. Actually, no. You're right. No. We still
And our
have.
logo was gonna
we
be
still-
two down like arrows. Y'all remember that? That's also trademarked.
It's trademarked.
Why is it called Down South? He's from DMV.
But I don't know. DMV is just like so in the middle, you know, like they have some
DMV includes
southern
Virginia, and Virginia says
Virginia,
they're
and
the
Virginia is
South.
south as it gets
So-
to me. So
That's fair.
I don't know. Avery, what about you, J Balvin?
No,
Charlie
okay.
XCX.
Have you guys heard of Pink Panthers?
I've heard of Pink
Um,
Panther.
I've heard of the movie.
There's
heard
an
the movie.
artist out called Pink Panthers. She's had a couple big TikToks, or actually two big TikTok songs. And all of her songs are like 2 minutes long. She has like 8 songs out on Spotify. I'm pretty sure it's a combined 20 minutes of music. And they're all amazing.
Really?
I'm
What
a
kind of
huge
music
fan.
is it? Like pop?
Like pop, all kind of, I don't really know. It's hard to nail down. Let's say that if we had something to write about this week, this is what I would write about. You know,
Really?
you catch
Wait,
my
oh,
vibe.
To
Hold
write
on, hold
about-
on.
Wait, what are you?
I'm not
talking
saying
about?
anything.
Little
I'm just
preview, little
saying-
preview. Hold on. We're not
Let's
gonna
just
give it
say
away
things
yet.
are coming.
Things are coming.
I'm just saying, if I were to write about something, if I had to write something soon, this
Yeah.
is what my first topic would be. I think she is going to be like Gen Z's favorite musician.
Really? Is she like a
Ooh.
teenager? Is she
I
like really young?
literally know nothing about her. I have
Wow.
not looked at her personally, but I've listened to all her songs and they're so good.
Did
Interesting.
anyone check out this Madden NFL 22 soundtrack?
There's a lot of good songs on there.
There's
Jid's
a
on
lot of
there.
big- yeah, there's a.
Wait, was this
Wait,
Denzel
wait.
Curry song from that?
I don't think so.
No, it's not.
It was not.
But
It's not
there's-
on there. I thought it was.
There's a Tierra Whack song, a Moneybag Yo song. And I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes these soundtracks be having bangers on them, so I'm gonna check it out.
Jid's on here. 42 Doug.
Loki,
Moneybag Yo.
11 songs, 29 minutes. This is
Moray.
up Noah's alley for one.
Like Harlow?
Yo, looks like they took this thing seriously. 2K, y'all
Yo,
got to step up. 2K.
I don't know why I'm saying this just because we said Jack Harlow. I just remember one time we talked about him. I think last year it was last year. It was last year when he released a Tyler Hero song, and I was like, yeah, I'm not messing with him. I'm
That
not.
song is
with it.
good.
That song
I
is
don't know how I
not
feel
good.
about
No,
him.
I agree. I
A
disagree.
year later, though, Jack Harlow's warming up to me. I like him. Good guy.
Oh yeah, he's a great personality. I think he's hilarious. So.
This is
I like
fun.
that song. I like that
Yeah.
Tyler Hero song.
Anything else
Avery,
before we go?
Did you listen
Anything
to
else?
Out Charlie XCX?
I did. It was good. It was cool.
I'm assuming it's like a Jax Jones. I'm assuming it's a high intensity pop.
Anything with
dance
Charlie
stuff.
XCX is just balls to the wall. So it's good.
It's just a lot of sounds, essentially.
Y'all know what comes out next week though. It's my Super Bowl.
Oh, you're right. Every Super Bowl.
I've been waiting for this
Every
since I
Super
was
Bowl.
18 years old.
Nnamdi, what is it?
Maybe you should to get prepared. You should go to the nail salon.
Get a little stoned, smoke a little, and
Get a
go to
little
the nail
stone,
salon.
And then maybe if you walk there, you can feel some solar power. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Oh,
She's
nice,
coming.
nice. Yeah,
She's
Lord.
coming.
Avery's excited.
I'm pumped. Can't wait.
Is a review coming too? Stay tuned. Because we truly
Stay
don't
tuned.
know. So
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Okay. Billboard highlights. Couple things. Justin Bieber and Kid Laroi. They're now at number 1 on the Hot 100.
This is
I
a TikTok
don't-
song, by the way.
Is it? Because I was
It
like,
is.
this feels like it came out of nowhere.
What you
There's a
talking about? Stay?
Day by the Kid
Day.
Laroi and Justin Bieber. There's
Okay.
a little dance attached to it.
Okay.
And
yeah.
that makes sense.
So it's pretty
I
good. It's
think
catchy.
Kid Laroi's first.
After I get
Yeah.
off talk, I have the song stuck in my head. So
Rounding out the top 5, we have Stay by The Killer and Justin Bieber. Number 2, we have Good For You by Olivia Rodrigo, which is just like, she's killing it. Levitating by Dua Lipa, featuring who should not be named.
DaBaby.
Yeah, exactly.
So important to know it's still the version of the song
Yeah.
that has DaBaby. A lot of people were saying she pulled it from streaming.
It's not. It's still there. It's still there.
I think she pulled it from like playlist, which
yeah,
is
maybe
that's
that
fine.
makes sense. That makes sense. But
Because sometimes they'll do that with like the bigger today's top
Yeah.
hits, that kind of thing. But I don't think it's removed. Hence why it's still
Yes,
still
sir.
number 3.
Butter is still super consistent. And I'm actually surprised that Ed Sheeran Bad Habits is number 5. People really the song's okay to me. And the song's okay, and people were making fun of like the music video and what he's wearing, but people consistently listen.
There's
to the song,
definitely a base for it. I don't think that should be surprising. I get shocked when people forget like the commercial powerhouse that Ed Sheeran is.
Yeah,
he's so popular.
It's like he has a lane, and he knows this is like this Shape of You. It makes sense that this is the sequel to that. He's been kind of varying into.
He's a talented guy.
But a couple things I also want to point out: "Happier Than Ever," the song, which is also Billie Eilish's 5th single off of the album, debuted at number 11 on the chart. Really? I will say, I think we said before that the rollout for this album was kind of quieter, and it's honestly kind of hard to even think about the rollout because some of the singles came out all the way last year. But there wasn't a bad guy on this album for some reason, even though I think it's just as good as the first one. But either way, I love the song, and I think it's still amazing.
This might be my favorite Billie Eilish song she's ever made.
Same.
Really?
I'm not gonna lie to you. It's the
best song ever.
Between this and like Ocean Eyes for me.
Oh,
this song has me on a lock for some reason.
Yeah. Leave the door open at 12.
Okay, 14.
Skate at 14.
Skate at 14.
Y'all, we can't do this. As a fan base, if we want more of this, we can't have them debut at 14.
Exactly.
Okay, well, look, honestly, I said it before. After making people wait like 5 months, we didn't want another single.
But I'm gonna take what I can get. And the song's so good.
I
The
think
song's
14.
so good.
I think 14 is still really good, and I think
it is.
The song is
really good.
Maybe it'll be
so good.
Maybe it'll be at a consistent hit and rise. There's a lane for it. Absolutely.
They are a powerhouse duo already. I'm kind of like Avery. Like this album's gonna be good. So
it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Oh
and
man.
Over on the Billboard 200, Billie Eilish dominance. 238,000 units sold first week for Happier Than Ever. That had a debut at number 1, and I believe is one of the biggest selling albums this year. It's not number 1, but one of the biggest. 153,000 were pure sales, and get this, the bulk of that was vinyls. People bought the hell out of vinyls for this album.
Really?
I think she had the most, second to maybe Taylor Swift or something.
Taylor Swift got number 1 easily. So,
but that was the bulk of that. And then Prince's latest posthumous album, Welcome to America, which for some reason we didn't include in our debate when we had that, but hey, that's right here, number 4. And I believe the thing about this album was it was like supposedly like political kind of. It was like a social statement when he recorded it. It seemed very relevant now and resonated. I haven't listened to it.
Listen to episode 52 of the podcast to hear our discussion on posthumous albums.
And then, of course, without a doubt, the biggest release is Isaiah Rashad, The House Is Burning, debuted at number 7, which is a peak for him. That's the highest debut for Isaiah Rashad yet.
I think he sold 44K.
I think it was around 40 in the 40s K, but I think it's still really, really good for Isaiah Rashad. I'm very happy for him. And again,
this is really good for Isaiah Rashad. Like I think his last album sold like 19,000, but it's got critical acclaim. But it's good to see that Isaiah Rashad is getting success. That a lot of people, I know everybody doesn't love it, but I always felt like Isaiah Rashad does make music that can appeal to a larger audience, and I'm glad people are taking notice. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah. Sorry.
Some Isaiah Rashad hate going on?
You think Isaiah Rashad makes music that can appeal to a larger audience?
Absolutely, I think so. I think there's songs that can appeal to a larger audience. I mean, he's
be hits. Like
I didn't say like album cuts. I don't think everything, but I think he has songs that can appeal to a larger audience. I mean, TD has shown you can do that. Kendrick Lamar came out with The Pimp Butterfly, which is one of the most eclectic, weirdest albums for the mainstream, and it was a banger. So I don't think it's out of the question to say that Isaiah Rashad could attain some similar success. Not Kendrick, but
that's how you do, and that's how you fight for your dissertation. That's how you defend your point.
That's how I defend my guy. My guy.
You better put an Isaiah Rashad song on this playlist now. Because look, that's how you do it.
We got too many songs on there, honestly. So we need to chill.
We really do. But you have half the album. It's like, okay, let's wait. 26. Young Dolph at 22. I want to say shout out to Memphis. We've been talking about Memphis a little bit. Yeah. Let's go on to I See the album that caught all of our attention. From y'all's favorite rapper.
I was looking at number 27.
Oh, okay. Well, first, Logic, Bobby Tarantino, who's not a favorite rapper, that was a joke. 3.
Bobby Tarantino 3.
A year after his retirement, no comment. Debuted at number 26. I believe, hey, the singles individually, we sort of said what we said about them. Avery actually told me that the overall album is a little bit better, right?
Yeah, he said it's not bad.
It's
He
cool.
said it's not bad.
Yeah, it's cool.
But I'm sure it doesn't warrant some of the stuff people are giving it. So shout out to Logic. Everyone go check out the album. Maybe
We hope you're happy.
The playlist. Maybe, perhaps. So the Bleachers put out an album at 27. It debuted there.
I love it. I love this album.
Take the sadness out of Saturday night.
I love it. It's so
These
good.
album names are getting so good. I don't know. These album names are getting so good. That's just a random thought, but I don't know. I just love to take the sadness out of Saturday night. It's like so random and so good.
It's
I
like,
don't know.
you know what? I will take the sadness. out of
Exactly.
Saturday night.
Okay.
Is it a pop album, Avery? Is it like more?
It's a rock.
He's actually like leaning a little bit more into rock in this one. So he's
Oh,
from
love it.
Jersey, and he's always said that he's inspired by Springsteen. And Springsteen features on the album, but he's so it's like a little more Springsteen-esque. It's kind of cool.
Y'all, I want to do an episode about the changing face of rock and sort of like what rock is today and how it's sort of more diverse and like some of the people who are still doing rock. I don't know why I'm saying
we're
this
gonna need
as
a
a
guest for that.
recording. Yeah, we're gonna need a guest, and I don't know why I'm saying this is a recording.
We know who.
but, like,
We know
I
who.
just want
We already know who. We already know who.
Wait, okay,
already
but
know.
before we know who, but is that who?
Yes.
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 That's
That
my
is
guy.
who.
That's
That's
our
our
If you're
guy.
listening, I'm sure if he's listening, he would know who we're talking about.
Hey,
He
if you're
knows
listening,
who-
you're our guy.
Expect a DM or text.
Or
That's
text.
Predictions next week is called Staying Power. Billie Eilish is expected to stay at number 1 on the Billboard 200 with like 80 something thousand units moved. She
Mhm.
may be number 3 if Donda doesn't drop. Honestly, unless Donda comes out, she could very easily have a third week at number 1. Then yeah, that's what you're getting.
Nas is gonna come in at number 3. It looks like.
Which would be
57K,
good.
which is good for
I
Nas.
really enjoy the album. I really enjoy King's Disease too.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. Project of the week, fellas.
That's probably the transition. I chose King Disease 2. I liked King Disease 1 a lot. So I wasn't too. I was like woefully optimistic because I thought that was a good album, but him coming out with the second a year later and then having it be a sequel, I was like, it's like, let's see what this is. When I saw the track list, I was confident. And then Noah put the Lauryn Hill song on our playlist last week, and I really liked that.
It's so good.
The whole album's really good, and I'm very happy to say that. I think it's very much so on par with King Disease 1. I don't know which one I like better yet, but I'm not sure. There's like a track I don't like. There's songs I prefer over others, but there's like a lot of high points I enjoy, like The Pressure, which is the intro track. I think is really good. He has a Charlie
EPMD
Wilson
2.
feature. What'd you say?
EPMD 2.
Yes.
Really good.
Eminem on that goes off. So like definitely expect some songs. It's fire.
You know what I'm really happy to see is that there's older rappers still putting out music, because we think of rap as a young man's game, but rap is still so young. Like rap is like 40 years old, still such a young genre. So we haven't give artists to be older, like in their 40s and 50s, like really come out with albums. And Nas, one of the people, obviously Jay-Z. So it's really good to see older rappers still putting out music. So
I
I'm
agree.
excited about that. I kind of previewed this for Avery before the podcast, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, who is this?" For My Mama and Anyone Who Looked Like Her by McKinley Dixon. He is the rapper from Richmond, Virginia, and I kind of just stumbled on this, honestly, and I really love it.
How did you stumble on this?
Dude, I don't even know, bro. Like, YouTube is a dark place, man. I just gotta find things in my recommended and stuff like that. But this is a really, really good album. I recommend you guys take a listen. It is it's one of the best albums I've heard this year. One of the best rap albums I've heard this year.
Wow.
So it's a really great album. And
I
artwork,
like the cover a lot. The cover, it's a really, really nice artwork.
yeah, really good guy. It sounds like he's a poet, like he does some spoken word stuff on there, but he raps also. So really good album. For My Mama and Anyone Who Looked Like Her by McKinley Dixon.
Shoot him a
out to you.
DM. Get him on the pod.
We should.
Come on, what are we doing?
We should.
My project of the week is this EP by Hippocampus called Good Dog, Bad Dream. They're one of my favorite bands, and this is like the first time they released music in like a couple of years. So it's 5 songs. It's quick. It's like 15 minutes, but every song's a banger.
Did this come out this year? This came out this year?
Came out last
I
week.
feel like I've listened to a Hippocampus album before. I don't know why, and I don't know who would have put me on, but
Probably me.
was it you? I mean, probably like that.
Have you ever put them on the playlist or anything like that? You probably
I
have.
think that they've been my project of the week at some point.
Got you. So yeah, they've been on the playlist before, so that's dope.
Yeah, I
That's
love
dope,
them. They're
dope.
great. They're from Minneapolis.
Avery, shoot him my DMs, get him on the pod.
They're pretty popular.
They're pretty popular.
Especially Hippocampus won't happen. But whenever we have some of these more underground artists like
McKinley Dixon,
our homeboy McKinley Dixon. Ever should we don't bail and scroll up, so I have to like scramble. No, sorry, McKinley Dixon. We try to get involved. That'd be cool. Like I want to listen to the album just because of how cool this cover is. This cover art.
Yeah, the cover art's great.
It's really dope.
It's really interesting because I listened to his previous projects. He only has 2 other projects, so it's easy to like listen to his whole, his whole discography. But he has a song called "For My Mom and Anyone Who Looked Like Her." I don't remember if there's a song where he says that online. And I love when artists like do something that they did in like a previous project and kind of connect it to like a new one. I love when they do that. So yeah, great project. And I'm gonna listen to this Nas. I'm gonna listen to this Hippocampus too. 5 tracks. Easy listen for me too.
Our playlist has gotten I really enjoy hitting shuffle on our playlist.
I do, and shout out to people who are like, oh, I'm interested in hearing it. You know, some people have added our playlist on Apple Music. You know, so it's really dope. Shout out to them. So yeah, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We're on YouTube, we're on SoundCloud, we're on Apple Music, we're on Google Podcasts. Stop playing with us, bro.
We're on Stitcher. We're on like 30 different platforms. We're on forgetting every other day.
No, seriously, wherever you get podcasts, we're on there. I'm not lying. Like wherever you get podcasts, we're on there.
Get your friends.
Shout out again to Gaby Paul for joining us. Yes. Thank you for the interview, and we will definitely continue to keep tabs, follow up on her. Yes. You'll see all of her links in our description, and we'll tweet them out as well. So definitely, hit up her. And thank you guys for joining another wonderful episode of the 97 Demo. We will see y'all next week.